I wasn't there before, was it? Hey, you're live.
We're live.
I guess it's working.
Let me pull it up on here.
All right. Yeah, go to events, and then there it is.
Cool. Okay.
So you should be able to see the chat on this side. Is that the whole screen?
Mhm.
There might be something underneath there, too. Hey, folks, we're just kind of getting everything figured out. Hey, 1010, Daryl, Otter Creek Aquatics. It's KP.
That's me.
KP's going to help me out with, first off, sound check. Can everybody hear me okay? Everything seem all right? KP is going to help me out with some questions and stuff like that. Hey, Melvin. And we're just going to take some questions as we go. Just kind of keep this real open-ended, real loosey-goosey. Nothing too structured. Melody and Ginger, hello. Jeff, hello. Jordan, hello. Lots of nice people coming in today. Why don't you take, get on that one. Mm-hmm. We have 3 laptops set up here. We're kind of trying to figure this out. So we got a bunch of stuff set up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to just check the sound real quick. And I'm going to see, Kerrigan, if you wouldn't mind sharing that on the Facebook. On the book face.
All right. Sound seems pretty good.
All right, good. This is my first time live streaming with this computer. I'm doing it right from my laptop. So it's a little different. Usually I do it from the phone. We'll go ahead and maximize the screen. Hey, greetings from Germany. All right. Wow, that's a miracle. Jeff says he's so happy to have his new shirt. I really like the shirts. I thought that they came out really well. We're working on new shirts. We're going to actually do, we'll do a few different designs of shirts, hopefully soon. And I'll be excited to get those up. We're just working on some artwork right now and getting some ideas going. Ooh, hello from England. All right. They say the video is pretty decent too, apparently. I've got a wide angle lens on my Max camera, so hopefully it's got a little bit of glare in it, but it's not too bad. And it makes my 55 look really, really small. Not that you can see much through Kerrigan anyway.
Sorry.
Howdy from Knoxville. This is Captain Vlog, buddy. No, Captain Vlog blog. Blog. All right, so do you guys have any questions that you would like answered? Anything, or we should just start the show, right?
Yeah.
Everything sounds okay. We're all shared out.
All right, so someone asked, is it good if you do 2 water changes a week?
Yes. In fact, it's fine if you do a water change every day. Your fish won't mind at all. If you do extremely frequent water changes, you should consider maybe doing less of one, so you're not changing the water like in an extreme way every time. Like I recommend a 80% water change every day or anything like that. But I try to stick to like the 20% once a week, or at least once every other week, 20 to 50%.
I would just make sure that if you're doing a deep clean on your aquarium, you don't deep clean your filter and your aquarium on the same day, because you want to keep the biological media intact so your fish can have those bacteria cultures eating away at the ammonia.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Someone asked where all my clones are. Well, Clone Charlie, he's at the grocery store. I make him do all the shopping. Roaming Clone, nobody really knows where he is. He's just kind of wandering around, and Alpha and Beta are just kind of lost out there in the universe. So I'm not sure whatever happened to them. Let's see. have I ever kept a pistos? And if you have, any advice? I've kept a bunch of dwarf cichlids, and I've kept a few pistogrammas, and I've bred them before. I did it on the channel actually. I have a video on that. I didn't do it like extremely well, but I'm looking to try again. I'm going to try a blackwater tank. I don't know if I told you about that. I'm going to do a blackwater tank.
Oh, nice.
With lots of tannins and leaves and stuff, and I'm going to try again with the pistogrammas and see if I get a really, really good, if I'm able to breed them and get better colors, and if it's a better experience for the fish. Hopefully it will be.
All right, so someone asked, what kind of fish should I put in my new 15-gallon full flex? Any suggestions?
I love the ember tetras. Those are great.
Mm-hmm.
The ones I put in mine were the what are they called? They're barbs. They're dwarf golden tiger barbs.
Yeah.
And they're interesting fish. They don't like a lot of flow. They don't like they don't need a heater. They like room temperature. They like in the high 60s or so, high 60s, low 70s. Those are great. And I've done videos on both of those too. Yeah. But right now I love ember tetras. Just very colorful, real easy to keep. Great for 15-gallon.
I definitely recommend some of like the dwarf or smaller varieties of fish, and I think schooling fish actually they do pretty well in a fluval flex, considering how kind of narrow it is. They actually do a really they do really well in them. And
if you want just like a couple of fish with great personalities, get some German rams.
Yeah,
I love those things, and you can keep them with some neons or other things too, and everybody chase each other around a little bit, but it's not been too bad. Yeah. I love my blue German rams. Got any other good questions?
Have you seen the Black Knight ram?
No, I have not. Black Knight ram?
Look that up.
Okay, I'll have to look that one up and see. I haven't seen it around here though.
The same person that asked about the fluval flex is asking if they could put in any frogs or crabs. I would say you definitely can keep frogs and crabs in them, although we didn't have a whole lot of luck with the crab that we had in there. I think that was just because the environment that we had for him wasn't really like optimal.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the problem was with the crab. Like it seemed, from everything I read, it should have been okay, but he just didn't live very long. And I don't know if we had a bad specimen or two bad specimens. I mean, neither one of them lived very long. One of them lived about a month or two longer than the other one.
And my experience with freshwater crabs is that they can be a little more temperamental to water quality too, so they're just a little bit harder to keep. But if you're planning on keeping frogs, I don't recommend people keep frogs with a whole lot of other fish just because they can kind of chase them and stuff, and it's kind of stressful on them. But
plus, frogs don't like they don't like pumps.
Yeah.
Like even air-driven pumps, is that right?
I mean,
like they don't like the vibration from an aquarium filter. So if you do put them in something, it would be better if it's like something with a canister, if that's, which seems weird, for something so small, or something that brings the vibrations away from the aquarium. Probably an air-driven tank would be really good with frogs and stuff. But they don't like the vibration of an internal pump, so avoid the internal ones, especially the box filter type filters with those.
Yeah.
Hey, I ran into you at the aquarium several weeks ago, and I spoke to you. You thanked me for watching the channel. Oh, thank you. It's good to see you again. I occasionally run into people in public. It's funny, after years and years of making videos on here, I've had these weird random things in town. Like somebody was changing our air filter. That might be you, Bob. Or you said he ran into me at the aquarium. Okay. I usually, if people do recognize me, it's shopping at the store. And other than that, it's been weird things. Like someone was changing our air filters the other day at work and recognized me. And then there was somebody yelled at me from a car the other day, and that was pretty cool. And that's not something it's something I'd see at a convention, but I wouldn't see in town. So.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone that has that has said hi to me when I was working at the aquarium. That always made my day.
Yeah, that was really neat.
Someone asked, let me go back to it, if we prefer fresh over saltwater. Personally, he hasn't kept a saltwater tank, but I have. I think I liked freshwater better just because I think I just was more experienced with it, but it was a nice challenge. It's not like much harder, but it was a little more difficult to maintain. But I think that you get a lot of really cool varieties of fish, but you kind of have to sink a little more money into it, I think. Then
it really depends. Like what it seemed like to me is like if you did fish only, and you didn't worry about corals, and you weren't worried about keeping all the weird invertebrates alive and stuff. If that was your only goal, it's not really that hard, and it's not that much different than keeping freshwater. The reason I don't do saltwater is because I like the plants. I like planting tanks. I like creating the environment. It lets me get away with, a really well planted tank becomes very low maintenance. And I don't know if a really well kept coral tank could be considered low maintenance. You know what I mean? Like I'd like a lot of tanks, a lot of variety. So I don't need a bunch of stuff to do. So partially it's just laziness that keeps me out of the saltwater. There are a lot of saltwater tanks that are really beautiful, a lot of things that are really neat, but I don't know. What else you got?
Christian asks, how much work have you weekly? Well, how much work do you do weekly on your tanks and monthly? Sorry.
Weekly, I spend about 3 or 4 hours doing water changes and kind of picking things out and stuff like that. I'd say daily, 10, 15 minutes of at least feeding and looking in the tanks just to see, for problems. That doesn't count like observing them for fun and just kind of having them around and stuff like that. A lot of times when I'm working on other things, I just like to be there in front of the aquarium. And every now and then I won't be able to help myself from reaching in there to clean something out. But really, if you've got aquarium hobby, if your aquarium hobby grows beyond like 10 tanks or so, you probably need to develop a system to make sure you're keeping everybody appropriately. If you got 1 or 2 tanks, I mean, man, I'm trying to remember what it was like to do a water change and be done in like, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Because if I had like one, big 30-gallon tank, that's like, what, 10 minutes of work
10,
a week?
15, yeah.
So, anyway. I spend a lot of time, but I have a lot of tanks too.
All right. Next question is, can you use a canister on a tank under 10 gallons?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Personally, I don't know if it would be worth it, in my opinion, because like for me, like while hang on the back filters,
really depends on what you need to achieve with that.
I think that hang on the back filter is a little bit easier to maintenance sometimes.
Yeah.
Just because it's easier to just kind of switch things out really quick if you need to.
Then again, the other thing I've noticed, that the smaller those canister filters are, the easier they are to deal with.
True.
Because they can pick them up. Like the really big canisters are really a pain in the butt. But yeah, you can put them on small. You just don't want it to toilet bowl the water inside. You don't want it to be like in a constant state of flush all the time. Make sure it's low flow, a low flow canister filter. What else you got?
Algae has been almost inevitable in most of your tanks at the start. What do you think is the cause / too much fertilizer or light? I know in Knoxville, there is actually a lot of phosphates just naturally occurring in the water here, especially if you're in like the Alcoa area. But I think that personally, that's probably a lot of the reason why algae's really just in like the whole Knoxville area, like it's more of a problem. I think that's the main reason.
Yeah. So the thing is, especially if your goal is to keep plants, a lot of us, what we do is we put all these nutrient rich substrates in and fertilizers and things like that. Especially the substrate is real nutrient rich. It's got the most nutrients it's ever going to have in your tank, and it takes a while for all that to calm down. Even if you've got tons and tons of plants, there's still a good chance you're going to get some algae. At the very least, you'll get the diatom algae, which is that brown stuff that kind of gets on everything. Otters love to eat that. Shrimp love to eat that too.
Yes.
And it always goes away. Like you could put in 20 ottos in there, they'd eat it right away and then probably starve because it does go away eventually, usually. The stuff that tends to linger on is like the hair algae, like the blackbeard algae, if you're unlucky enough to come across that, or the green filament algae, which is what I get. I get both of those all the time. Usually you look at that point, you look for fish that eat it the best you can. Anytime you can find a fish that really loves to eat whatever you got a problem with, it's a good thing.
Yeah, as long as you can sustain it. Don't get if you have a snail problem, don't get by 500 assassin snails, because then you're going to have an assassin snail problem and they're not going to have anything to eat. So yeah, there's something to think about.
Those do eventually breed.
Yes. Things breed.
One assassin snail in a tank is probably more appropriate than 2 or 3.
Definitely.
Long term, especially.
All right. Manuel asks, what is your favorite peacock cichlid? It's a harder question.
I know. I'm not.
Oh, they're beautiful.
I really love cichlids, like the whole family of cichlids, but I haven't kept them a lot, especially the South American ones and stuff, because they tend to be. Now, it's not just South American cichlids that are peacocks, right? Or is there a different? Isn't there a small? Like I've kept a lot of dwarf cichlids. I thought I kept one that was called a peacock cichlid. Maybe it was a pistogramma. Is another word for peacock. I can't remember. There, you got me on that one. I'm not really a cichlid guy.
Yeah.
I admire them, especially the smaller ones.
But if you would ever keep a cichlid tank, what kind would you keep? Like, what kind of cichlids do you think?
I'm gonna do a blackwater tank with the pistogrammas.
Yeah.
That's probably my next cichlid adventure. I love those other small ones too. I'm gonna try to keep them one time. I'm running a blank on that. I'll remember in a few minutes.
Someone asked how college is going for me. It's going really good. I'm a music ed major, so I'm playing my French horn all day long. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for asking. It's nice.
It says, it's EJ. Aluncarnia. I don't think I've ever kept those. But those are. I've seen pictures. I know, and I think they're pretty. And there's River Life. River Life's a local person here too. He's. I saw him at the Aquatic Experience last year.
Nice. And are you going to the Aquatic Experience this year?
I am. Good segue. Yes, I will be at the Aquatic Experience this year. The My Aquarium Box guys are having me up there. I'm going to be in their booth hanging out. I think Mr. Flip Aquatics, Rob from Flip Aquatics, is doing a YouTuber booth, fish tuber booth, over there at his place, where there'll be different people, because there's of course now it's super popular to go to the conventions and film things like suddenly. So there'll be a lot of YouTubers there, and I'll be among them. So be sure to come out if you're near the Aquatic Experience.
Nice. All right, this question goes after my own heart. Will you ever keep axolotls?
I don't know. I think they're really cool, but they're so fussy. I mean, they can't. Yeah. There's certain types of substrates you keep them with. They don't do a whole lot. They just kind of float there and look cute. I mean, that's nice, but I don't want a stuffed animal that I have to do water changes on and cut worms up. I don't want to cut worms up and feed. I'm not doing that. Like, if you want to keep an axolotl, then go for it, but not me.
I remember one time we went on a camping trip whenever I was in first grade, and I wanted to try fishing, and we were trying to put the worms on the hook. We're like, this is so gross. The whole time.
It's terrible. You're just impaling this little creature, And then I was scared that you would catch a fish, and I did not want to try to pull I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to pick up a fish in my hand and then try and force a hook out of it and it being all uncomfortable and stuff. So the whole time we did that, and you didn't catch anything, and that's because I prayed to God that would happen. I did not want to catch a fish at all. I did not want to have the experience. I wanted to experience taking you fishing, but not actually achieving our goal.
Yeah, I think we prefer to appreciate fish in it behind glass.
I'm more into trapping them into little glass boxes all over my home. That's
more fun.
That's my speed.
Sorry, this comment was funny. I see that. A lot of people have asked what are some good substrates to keep in a planted aquarium for like a freshwater planted aquarium, obviously.
I've had really good luck with that sea chem. Humate. The stuff I did the Into the Woods tank with.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The sea chem.
The sea chem substrate.
The small pelleted substrates do really good for plants that have more of a smaller root system. Things like Monte Carlo and stuff like that. Baby tears, they're really good. Like carpeting plants do really well in those. Like the Into the Woods tank is covered in that right now. And
then and they're all this kind of family of soil-based substrates. Like you've got the fluval version, the fluval stratum is in that family. ADA aqua soil is in that family. This video brought to you by Yoo-Hoo.
I was trying to cover the logo.
It's okay. We'll take a sponsorship from Yoo-Hoo if they offer one.
If they offer one, yeah.
We'll have to fill an aquarium full of Yoo-Hoo. I'm not sure what kind of fish would survive that.
None.
But yeah, back to planted tank substrates. There's stuff that's like this. I like the soil-based ones. I think they're real effective. Downside is they leach ammonia for like the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That are in there. So you really need to slow your roll, plant the tank out as heavily as you can, and then just kind of try to ignore it for a week or two and let things grow in.
I think my favorite one is probably Fluorite by Seachem, just because that one is a slow release one, so you don't have to replant your aquarium with like new substrates often. Like I know we've had some tanks that we've had set up for a while that have had that stuff in it.
Oh yeah, I like to put that at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I like to mix it up. So I put like the really reactive stuff at the top, and then I put something more stable and less reactive into the base of it, and that just kind of gives it a little bit longer term.
Yeah, and it also is better for different kinds of plants too if you're doing a lot of different varieties, because I mean they all kind of need somewhat a little bit different soil sometimes.
Yeah, the dirted tank has been okay too. I mean it's been going for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm probably going to take it down. Yeah,
I like that one.
I think I'm going to take it down, and I'm going to put up maybe 2 40-gallon tanks there.
Okay.
Maybe something fancier, some George Farmer style tanks. I decided I like his aquariums in his shop better than my stuff, so I might do some of that. Hopefully, I'll get to see George at the Aquatic Experience. It's one of the guys I'm really excited to see there. What else we got here?
Are you going to do any more movie reviews with Keifel?
You know, he and I talked about that. He got real busy with school.
That's right.
And then just couldn't do it anymore.
He campaigned too for.
He ran for office. Ran for office too. He ran for office, which was pretty fun. And so he's been all over the place and hasn't really been able to get out. I considered doing it on my own, but after I did so many with Keifel, I just felt bad.
Sad.
So I like doing movie reviews. So I'll probably go back to doing that soon. I might start up another channel. I've gotten a little less scared of like just starting up another channel and trying things. I did the game channel recently, and I haven't done much with that because I've become obsessed with a game that I'd rather hobby and interact with than actually make videos about. So yes, soon hopefully we'll be doing some of that.
Have you ever used regular potting soil?
I have. Yeah. That's like an organic topsoil or potting soil. Yeah.
You just have to be careful with those because a lot of them will have like extra minerals and things like that are made for plants that are not aquatic.
Yeah,
So you just have to be really selective with those and get ones that aren't like the Miracle Grow, extra stuff like that, just because it'll.
Well, there are types of Miracle Grow you can use too. Like I think the Miracle Grow potting soil is what I used.
Oh yeah.
But you got to get the stuff that's made. Usually, you see it's made to grow vegetables, like it's made for people. It's made for people to eat and stuff like that.
Don't get the ones that grow flowers because you're just gonna have
Right.
phosphate problems and nitrate problems, and it's just not gonna be fun. It's not fun.
Well, Chris says, my guppy killed my cherry shrimp. They are mean.
They can be. Most of the time, guppies are pretty nice.
Yeah, the problem the guppies are just stupid.
Yeah.
they're just little eating machines.
Yeah.
They do two things. They eat and they make more guppies, and you know how. You know what I'm talking about, right? We had that talk already, right?
Anyway, for a first saltwater aquarium, would you recommend a kit or going the standard aquarium sump setup? I went with the kit. I had the Fluval Evo. I really enjoyed it. But if you're wanting to grow and customize your tank as you go, I would recommend a normal sump setup, just because there's more ways that you can expand and more things you can add on to it. Not that you couldn't do that with the Evo or you can't do that with the BioCube, but I think that it's a little bit easier to customize it if you're kind of someone that likes to mod their aquariums and do weird stuff with it like we do.
I love having a sump. It's like a canister filter, but it's like so much easier. It extends the amount of water that's really in your tank, the amount of water that you're really dealing with. It looks like you got 20 gallons, but if you had a sump under, you could have like another 20 gallons underneath if you wanted to. This next year, I'm going to figure out how to drill out more aquariums. I'm going to start making sumps and stuff. After my experience with the sump that I have downstairs, the custom aquariums seamless sump. After my experience with that thing, I would just want to put a sump on everything. Anything that I can, I'm going to do a sump on. I love it. Maybe not the really tiny aquariums, but
yeah.
But anytime I get a aquarium of a decent size, I'd really like it to be drilled out, I think.
Yeah. And I think having a sump just kind of makes dosing and things like that easier too.
Everything's easier. You don't have to it's not in some pressurized system that you got to unlock, to get the stuff out and clean it. You just reach in there and get it.
Plus, you don't have to pour it straight into the top of the tank. You can pour it into the sump, and it evenly distributes everything.
Yeah.
And there's a little less risk whenever you have like a smaller tank with a sump underneath it, because whenever you're dosing, like if you're dosing for coral or doing like plant substrates and things like that, or plant additives, not substrates, you can just really keep it's like adding a drop of water or a drop of ink to like a pond versus a little bowl. It's gonna distribute it like.
Well, yeah.
That makes sense.
I guess if you messed up too, you could cut the pump off really quick or something.
Exactly. I think that you just have a lot more wiggle room with what you're doing when you have a sump.
Get Greg's 1,000-gallon sump. That would be nice. It'd be nice to have an actual fish room too, instead of just like a bunch of stuff around the house.
Yeah.
That's what you really need. Have I ever tried fork-tailed rainbows? No, I haven't. Fork-tailed rainbows.
They're cool looking.
Have you seen them?
Mm-hmm. They're neat.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that one. That sounds cool. I love all rainbows.
Rainbows are probably on my top 10 freshwater fish.
If I hadn't already picked some of the fish I had for the 210, it would be full of rainbows probably, because those are great.
They're pretty.
Yeah. If something ever happens to Mr. Tubes or something, then I'll fill it full of rainbows.
I hope nothing happens to Mr. Tubes.
I hope nothing happens to Mr. Tubes. But I would love to do like a 75-gallon at least, like rainbow tank, or a 90-gallon rainbow tank. I think that would be great.
Cool. Have you ever kept sparkling Grommy? She says, I have 2 of them, and I'm looking to up the number to 6. They're in a Fluval Flex 15-gallon with 4 autosinkless, and he keeps on keeping either of these species. Well, I would move them to a bigger tank if you're going to do
the sparkling Grommies are really small. What size tank?
15-gallon Fluval Flex with 4 autosinkless. It's probably fine, but
yeah, they're really tiny. They're
yeah,
like real little. You could probably do that many in there. a bigger tank's always better. You just want to make sure with the sparkling grommies, I think that they have a lid on them because they like the humid air between the lid and the
And
the humid air between the water and the lid.
And
the open. Look at it waving her. We're on a delay here, so I can watch all the weird.
Jeez.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
But yeah, you can probably do that. Have you kept sparkling grommy?
I haven't. I've almost bought them at least a dozen times.
They're cool.
I see them at at the aquarium all the time, and I've almost got them a couple of times, but there's something about their water parameters that they haven't always matched exactly where I wanted to put them. So
yeah,
I will keep them. I wanted to keep them in the steampunk tank, but I was worried that they'd hide and I wouldn't see them very often. So
some has a really small window in it.
Yeah, there's not much to see through there.
Yeah, it's cool though. What was your inspiration to start your YouTube channel?
Oh, I was watching. I just saw Greg Jones is on here. He's one of the My Aquarium Box guys. He says if your sump's if you can't jump into your sump, then it's too small.
Yep.
To start my YouTube channel, I always wanted to do a TV show, and so I went to the. I was watching Wayne's World, I think, or something like that, and I said, we have a local television broadcast thing, and I went through their little class about editing video and stuff, but they had all these rules, and they were going to throw me on at like 1:00 in the morning in some Knoxville channel that and I wouldn't know how many people watched it, and I wouldn't know anything, and YouTube was just kind of starting to become a big thing, so I thought I need to make a viral video.
Mm-hmm.
So I made this big Pac-Man costume for a thing at work. I still got part of it somewhere, and we were going to the corn maze, and we had to dress up in costumes. So I was Pac-Man, and so I had a buddy film me chasing people around in the corn maze. So if you go,
costumes.
Yeah, in a Pac-Man costume. So if you go all the way back to my very first video, it was me chasing people dressed as ghosts around in a corn maze in a Pac-Man. So that was my first YouTube video.
It was really funny.
I had fun making that. I mean, there wasn't much to making it. It's just like something that happened. And then I started making like little videos here and there. Did the roller derby girls. Did a whole bunch of roller derby video stuff. And then eventually came into aquariums because I started, at that time, I was really avid looking to YouTube for advice for keeping tanks. And a lot of stuff I came across, I thought one was wrong, and two, just not presented well at all. Like, it really bugged me to watch it. So I was like, you know what, I can make these, and I just started making them. I've been making them ever since.
Oh, we made that one video together, the Fluval Spec one.
Yeah, the Fluval Spec, the original Fluval Spec video was the one that was the most popular video. It was the one that really started projecting my videos out. Because the company shared it on their webpage. So if you went looking for a Fluval Spec, you saw my video. Mm-hmm. And you and I filmed that together.
Yeah. I've been here a long time. Someone says that we need to do a firefly tank.
Oh, Ginger. I don't know.
That's a big one.
I'd like to do some sort of like spaceship tank or something like that. I've always thought it'd be cool to do a tank. Like, have you ever seen there's a movie called Snowpiercer, where they're in a giant train. It's like an apocalypse, and they're all on this train just kind of traveling around the globe. And one of the trains has fish. I guess they grow it to eat it, but it's like an aquarium on both sides. So I always thought it'd be neat for the tank to be like someone in a ship that's looking through, or someone that's like in another room looking through, but like be like a miniature scene, and then they're looking into the tank that's inside of a ship somewhere. Like you're inside, they're not.
Meta.
Yeah, Firefly would be cool.
Greg says that Mike and I want to do a video with the clones at Aquatic Experience.
Okay, you gotta bring lots of potato chips. Maybe some beer. We might be able to loan. We could lure a roaming clone out with some beer, probably. I'm sure he'll be around the area somewhere if we need him to be.
All right. Recommend any small catfish for tanks under 15 gallons?
Ooh. You can there are some small catfish. There's a bumblebee catfish.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. Hides all the time.
Yes.
You'll never see it.
You'll never see it, but it's really pretty when you do.
I thought that thing was dead many, many times over. And every time I'd move the tank, I'd be like, oh, well, there he is. He's hiding
hey, buddy.
inside this thing. So there are a lot of small catfish. There's like a little checkerboard catfish, and there's the bumblebee one, but you're never going to see them. I mean, unless you're in a bare bottom tank with nothing else, and that's kind of a sad life, for a fish. So admire pictures of them. Don't feel like you've got to own them. Because to me, like, if you never see them, there's no point in keeping them. Like, anytime I get a fish and it hides continuously, I never get it again. I'll continue to feed it until I find it dead one day or don't find it at all one day. But I've had bad luck with some catfish, especially the little ones like that.
Speaking of never seeing a fish, someone asked if we've ever kept a coolie loach. And we've definitely kept a coolie loach that we've never seen. I think it was in my first aquarium, right? That I had.
Yeah.
I had a coolie loach in my little aquarium. And we eventually moved it to our 55-gallon whenever we broke that one down.
We saw him quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, once we put him in the larger tank, we saw him a little bit
more. Yeah.
Because he was in like a really small tank.
It was 5 gallons.
Yeah. Was it really 5 gallons?
It was just a little 5-gallon tank we had in your room very early on. And we thought it had passed, but we'd clean the tank and he'd come wiggling around. They really liked, what I found out later is they really liked their schooling fish. Mm-hmm. So if we'd kept 6 or 7 of them, we might have seen them more often, not just because there were more of them, but because they feel more comfortable coming out with more of their kind out there. So one thing I've always wanted to do is like a coolie loach tank. That'd just
be
like
really cool.
just like 50 of them in there.
Yeah. I remember
they're all over the place. I love those things.
I remember him telling me that it died and then pointing it out to him like 2 seconds later. It's right there.
Is that dead? There it goes. It's wiggling around.
Dummy. Let's see. When am I getting my first clone?
Oh,
if you go to class for me.
Yeah. You don't get a clone until you're 21.
Fair.
Because you could send them in to buy alcohol for you. And, I don't know. We don't need that kind of stuff going on.
Someone says, get a flower horn.
Oh my gosh. Well, those are very beautiful fish. They don't like plants.
Nah.
They don't like other fish sometimes. No, I'm not going to do that. Let Joey have his flower horn. He's got enough flower horn for the whole internet.
Yeah. Best plants for beginners?
Oh, well, I recommend my video, Aquarium Plants for Beginners, or even more Aquarium Plants for Beginners, which is the sequel to it, which does have clone action in it.
My favorite overall really easy plant is Anubias. Like, I think that one's I've had the best luck with in any environment.
I've had better luck with that than Java Fern.
Yeah.
Like, I've found Java Fern, like, it doesn't need low light, but it really likes it if there's a little bit more light. I mean, it doesn't need high light, but it really, really likes high light a lot. And supplements. I was surprised how much better they did with supplements and stuff. So there's all kinds, you can abuse it, all kinds of plants, but Anubis seemed to mind the least.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm looking through your guys' comments.
Looking for gold. Oh.
Do we have any semi-realistic biotope aquariums or planning to do one?
Well, I guess the Blackwater tank that I keep talking about, the Blackwater tank, it would be probably my first try into like really keeping to the rules and doing a biotope aquarium. I've had some really snotty comments about grow up and do a biotope aquarium.
Grow up. You're only in your 40s.
Yeah, you're just 47. Why don't you grow up?
Why don't you grow up?
Do a biotope aquarium. I don't know. That's not what this person is saying necessarily, but
Yeah.
I just, you know what? I don't like rules, and I don't want to. I don't necessarily like. Anytime I've sought out. I was like, okay, this one's going to be all African stuff. All plants from Africa, all the type of substrate they'd have there, the type of wood they'd have there, and really get down there. It gets expensive and it's boring. Like I was looking at what my options were for a couple of different things. I just didn't like the options. So I just ended up going, well, I have these plants, I'll throw those in there. I have these plants in there. So these plants are from South America. These plants are from Africa. These plants are from, and the same with the fish, a lot of times when I start a new tank, I don't buy a lot of new fish. I'll break another one of my tanks down and I move the fish over or do something like that. So it doesn't lend itself to a biotope aquarium. I'm more into visually striking aquascapes and really neat fish. Or just trying things that haven't been tried before or haven't been tried successfully in my mind before. So biotopes are not a priority for me. I am going to attempt to do something a little closer to that with the Blackwater tank, where there are basically no plants in it. It's just going to be, some floating plants on the top and stuff like that. So you'll be seeing more of that sort of thing, but it's, I don't know. I think they're boring. I think that God bless you if you want to do it. You know what I mean? Like if that's what you're into, I can completely see the reasoning for why that would be a fascinating thing for someone to do. It's just, I like sci-fi robots and nerdy stuff. So
it's definitely cool to sometimes I think it is cool to kind of stick to the rules and be able to kind of create as close to an environment that you
whose child are you?
I like rules.
Where'd you come from? You get that from your mom.
But it's cool. Anyway, do you like the electric blue Acaras?
Oh, I love those things.
You finally got them. I've been pointing them out to you at the aquarium for 3 years.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know, but Billy brought his over, and they are so cool. And they don't. There's about an hour or two where they picked on each other, and things were touch and go.
You're like,
they were chasing the 50 centipoma and Mr. Chasey, the SAE, were chasing the Ankara around quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then finally he just turned around and tagged him. He tagged 50 centipoma real good, and he hasn't bothered him since then.
Yeah.
And I imagine Mr. Chasey got a little nib out of him too. And now they just kind of swim around together, and nobody's chasing anybody anymore. It's been pretty great.
What's an example of a mistake not commonly made and known about by hobbyists that you've made?
Like an uncommon mistake?
Yeah.
I don't know. I never make a mistake.
I'm perfect.
Not watching your hoses. I don't know if this is common or uncommon, but for years and years, I drained my tank with a Python or one of those big hoses, and there's never been an issue. And then just a few weeks ago, I was doing that, and I looked, and I had 5 endlers inside the tube, swimming for dear life. They're just trying to keep from being sucked down the tube. And I'm like, what happened here? Because they're usually, they're a little bit,
fine.
The little ones are kind of suicidal. They'll go right up to the tube,
yeah.
But even these swim away.
It's really funny whenever you have it in a tank with really big fish, because they're scared to death of it. But all the little ones are like, what's happening?
What's in there?
Let's see.
So I had 4 of them swimming for dear life, trying to get out of it. And that hasn't happened to me before. I had a ram get really curious and get sucked up into one once. That was too bad. It was never the same after that.
That was sad.
The other thing that's really weird to watch out for is occasionally test your tap water,
yes.
with the stuff. You'd be surprised how much ammonia those reprobates slip through at the chemical treatment plant. So
especially if you have an old house, because a lot of old houses have copper pipes. If you're having trouble keeping plants, that's something you need to think about. Or if you're having trouble keeping invertebrates, that's another thing that
could be copper pipes.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've run into that a lot of people are like, oh, I never knew. So like, oh, my house is killing my plants. Got it.
Jenny says, is the pump too strong in the Fluval Flex? Do I have to change it? I get that question a lot. I get it a lot about the spec too. And in the Flex, it really depends on what kind of fish you keep in it. I swapped mine out because I kept a fish that really liked low flow, and they kind of looked like they were being pushed around a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
And when I switched that, they acted completely different, really normal. And that's the golden, dang it, dwarf golden barb.
Yeah.
Bettas are like that too. They don't like a lot of flow, but they can handle more than people give them credit for.
Yeah. And I know the specs, Fluval even sells like covers that you can put on top of the outtake.
Well, that's actually, those little covers, they were made and they're sold for the Fluval Edge to put over the intake and keep the keep things from swimming,
from
swimming inside of it.
Yeah,
especially shrimp and stuff.
But it works really good for that too.
Yeah, a lot of people have taken to just putting that over the output of their spec, and it really cuts the water flow. I think it cuts it too much.
Yeah, sometimes I've seen people go through with like rubber bands and stuff and just put like normal.
Something I do to kind of cut the flow of water is I'll angle it towards the top. So that it takes all the energy and it pushes it out of the top of the water, and then it just kind of falls back in. And it just instead of pushing a column of water around, it's just kind of disturbing it in one area, which is enough to kind of keep those ripples going and keep the oxygen flowing in there, but not so much that it just toilet bowls the whole aquarium.
Yeah.
Got any other questions? Is the eLive Aqua Duo filter still functioning? It is. Not here. I gave it to a friend of mine, Daniel. And it is going in his little secret aquarium room.
Yeah.
It's got this little closet with like all these little aquarium experiments and stuff. And it's got a big old flower growing out the top of it and stuff. It works.
Yeah.
It was a little too fussy for me. I didn't like the way it stuck out. Kind of limited my options for lids and stuff. They did make a custom lid just for it and all that, but I didn't end up getting any of those things.
Can you culture green water outside without curing or culturing mosquitoes?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't tried that.
I haven't tried it either. It's kind of weird.
Maybe if you kept a lid on it, like if you kept it covered, you might be able to keep the mosquitoes out of it because they have to come to the water. And lay the eggs and stuff.
But it'd have to be like a really solid cover. Like you wouldn't be able to have holes in it or anything because they're small. Like,
yeah. So you might be able to do it. You might be able to do it with like cellophane or something like that lets light through, but not mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's some of those bags. I know they make bags that let air back and forth, but they don't allow water to go back and forth. So that might work.
What do you feed your plants, and how often do you dose?
Oh man, I don't do much. I need to get better about like when I have dosed. It's been pretty good. I won this package of Aqua Vitro. Is that what the fancy sea chem stuff? I won a bunch of that, and I used it for a long time on the tanks up here, and I did see improvements, but it wasn't so much improvement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are some things that'll happen where if you don't have CO2 and you don't have high light, you don't have all those combinations kind of firing at the same time, it'll be somewhat less effective.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to dose and what I use downstairs is the not Flourish Excel. What is it? Just Flourish.
Yeah.
The Sea Chem Flourish. I'll take that. I've got a little pump that I got in my aquarium box, and I'll take that pump and just and I'll hit every tank as I'm doing a water change. I don't do that so much up here But I do it on my tanks downstairs because they have bigger lights on them.
Yeah. All right. Do you mostly use canister or internal filters? I think we mainly use.
Let's see. I've got a canister on 1, 2, the one downstairs, the cube downstairs, the 56 gallon. This one doesn't have one. That one has one now, the 20 gallon. So there's 3 canisters. I'm kind of losing track of things. I've used everything. I'd say probably the most common thing you'll see with me is like the hang on the back filters and stuff like there. But I've been moving away from that. My absolute new favorite thing is the corner filter. Sponge filter, either with air or as a pre-filter for your canister, like is what I'm doing with a 20 gallon right now. I love corner filters. I think they're amazing. Really simple way to keep your tank clean without a lot of fuss. You know, I don't want to have to take things apart and clean them. I like just pulling that sponge out and rinsing it off in some tank water once a year and then putting it back. That's what I like. That's what I like. I like it.
What's your favorite food to feed your shrimp?
You know, this is gonna sound like a big sales pitch, but I got this Fluval Bug Bites shrimp food with the EB tank that I set up, and I've been feeding them this, and I swear it seems like they really, really like it. Like they go right for this stuff. I could throw a dozen different things inside of there. Every now and then I'll do a little bit of flake food. I'll do a little bit of this. I like to do those Sarah wafers, you know, from Sarah.
Yeah.
I'll crunch those up and I'll throw them in there. They like those. Give them a variety of food. Make sure it's something with some protein. You know what? It's weird that I found was very effective is the Sarah baby food.
Yeah.
Okay,
the Vipian food.
Yeah, so my rainbows upstairs started breeding, and I started finding all these little baby rainbow fish, and I was netting them out. And I was putting them in these tanks, and I had this 10-gallon tank, and I was putting them in there, and I had shrimp in there too because they wouldn't eat all the food, especially at first. They weren't eating real well, and I wanted to make sure that something could graze along the bottom and eat all the stuff that they didn't eat. So I threw a whole bunch of cherry red shrimp in there. Well, I started feeding that Sarah. It's like a flake food, but it's real granular. Sarah baby food.
Yeah. Vipian.
And the what is it?
Vipian food.
Vipian. Okay. So the fish, of course, did really well in there, but it's on top of the tank in the bedroom.
Okay. Do you want me to get it?
No, it's okay. So they the shrimp in that tank with the babies just got amazingly red and like real robust and huge, like really big. And so I like to put a little pinch of that in in my shrimp only tanks. I only have one right now, but I'd like to have more.
Yeah. And one thing I like too is Sarah has some of these cool ones that you can kind of stick to the glass.
O-nip.
Yeah, the O-nip ones. And they stick to the side of the glass, and those are kind of fun to feed community tanks and shrimp tanks because they go right up to it. So if you're having trouble finding a fish, sometimes that's good to.
The food that comes off it is super granular.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really small.
Yeah, it's made to kind of flake off over time. Thanks, drone shots. That's awesome.
Hey, yeah, I've still got my drone, like in your picture there, but I'd like to sell it and get a new Mavic. I did crash the Mavic drone.
Yeah.
If you guys watch the video for the Fluval Spec 16 gallon, know that is an $800 opening shot. That shot cost me so much. You won't even. It basically killed the pecktec Air channel.
Pretty much.
I was trying to do that shot, and I ran my drone into a tree. So I did have one that worked, and that's the one you saw on the video. But I had another one that I tried to do it from a different angle, and it didn't work, and I crashed, and it's gone.
Yeah. A couple of people have asked about betas and keeping betas with shrimp, and if we like keeping betas. I really like keeping betas. I think they're really pretty.
I love them. I think they're great. The betas are cool. Like if you get a healthy one, especially.
Yeah.
Betas are cool as like a singular fish that you can keep on your own. I keep mine in a community tank. Mine's in a 27-gallon tank.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping them with fish is like 50-50.
Yeah.
Some of them ignore them and don't care at all.
Yeah.
Other times, like the red one that I got, that koi beta. If you go like my videos a little bit, if you remember the koi beta I got, I came home. He was in the face tank, and I came home and he had a cherry red shrimp in his mouth, just swimming around.
Yeah.
And the shrimp was like, ah! And he just had him by the back of that carapace, just swimming around with him.
Yeah. Albert's interesting. I named him, if you can't tell.
And then we put him in the big tank where there are lots of shrimp.
The 55, like the square 55.
It's a 27-gallon.
It's a 27-gallon?
Yeah.
Oh. I know how gallons work.
Anyway. It doesn't seem like it'd only be 27 gallons.
Yeah, it seems bigger than that.
But anyway, he went into there, and there's tons of shrimp in there, and he doesn't bother them. So something to consider might be just the amount of room that they have, or it might be the other fish that are in the tank. Maybe the rummy nose that are swimming around are so distracting he doesn't go hunting down whatever is in there.
Yeah.
But the smaller the space you put them in, the more territorial they become. So
yeah. And a lot of people try to keep things like beta sororities and stuff like that too. But personally, I think just putting them in a community tank is really interesting to kind of see how they interact with other fish that aren't betas. So I think that well, betas are really pretty, and it's
especially
nice
if you don't have stuff that looks like another beta, like maybe some sort of gourami or paradise fish, all those kind of things in that sort of same family. If you don't have those in there, I think it would be all right. Yeah,
if we don't keep them with fish that have like a lot of color, like a whole lot of color and similar like fin shapes, they're usually fine in a community tank. Albert's been doing a good job in there. He's like flourished. Yeah. He's just so happy.
But sometimes they ignore the shrimp, sometimes they do good.
Yeah. It's really 50-50. I find that the smaller tank, the more.
Good afternoon, JCP. My guppy fry are with my betta male and ghost shrimp. My female is in the community tank. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, and Ginny asked if she could keep a beta in a full flex, and you definitely can.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be very happy in there.
That's a lot of room.
Yes.
Well, one thing to consider with the betta is don't put them in anything that's too deep. Like, I think keeping them in a 55 would be a mistake because I think it's just a little bit.
Because they like to breathe from the surface.
Yeah, they come back and forth, and I don't know. They might be okay in there, but I think that they have an easier time in like the shallower tanks. Let's see. Do I plan to make a how-to shrimp tank video? I've left some of the really specific things like a shrimp tank. I kind of did that with the EB, but I'd set up the kit as it comes. There's a guy named Mark Shrimp Tanks. If you really want to know amazing stuff about shrimp, his knowledge is deep, and I like listening to him because he sounds like Shrek. So
it's fun.
It's like having Shrek tell you about your aquariums. He's much smarter than Mike Myers.
A lot more eloquent.
But I try to. I don't know if I don't feel super confident in my knowledge of something, I try to avoid it. Like what I don't want to do on this channel is end up doing a book report where it's the species, and I'm going to read all the stuff I've found on Wikipedia about this. I've done that a couple of times because there's some real photogenic fish that I really like to talk about and stuff like that. But I try to at least keep them for a year, before I start talking about them and stuff. And cherry red shrimp have just been such a nothing thing. I mean, they don't mind any. I put them in tanks where they're not supposed to go with fish that they're not supposed to go with. And
we've haven't had any trouble with cherry shrimp.
Yeah, every cherry shrimp I have, and there's some in almost every aquarium, except for the big guys. All the cherry shrimp I had came from 30 shrimp that I got years and years, 10 years ago in a little bag off of Aquabid. So,
Yeah.
well, not all of them. I've got some really pretty ones that are in the face tank now that I got from Napa Valley Tropicals. Those are a little different. But all the regular shrimp I have came from that one little bag.
Yeah. All right. So what's your holy grail fish or plant?
Oh, that's a good one. So I don't know if I've got a fish that I'm chasing right now. I'm on the lookout for really excellent versions of species that I keep already.
Mm-hmm.
So like a peacock gudgeon that's just the right age and just the right, or really I always look at rams. And if I see a really gorgeous, beautiful ram, then I'll take it. And I that's the way it was when I went to the cichlid show. I went to, what was it, the American Cichlid Association.
Yeah.
Well, I went and I bought those rams there because they were just the most gorgeous rams I'd ever seen. I was like, oh my gosh, and they're super healthy. They're still swimming around in there. And and I don't have it. I don't I don't quest after fish like that. Like I'll discover a fish and usually I'll read the description and hunt it down and get it if I really want it. But so many of them that I've become fascinated by just turn out to be fish that I'm not able to keep just because the water parameters are not right or they're too fussy for what I would want to keep. So. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's kind of vague. That didn't answer your question very well. I'd really have to think about that. There's a lot of fish that I like. There's a lot of plants that I like. I've always wanted to keep those plants that have the holes all over them.
Like the
lace plant.
Java lace?
Yeah, Java lace and stuff.
That stuff's cool. It looks neat.
I've heard it's really fussy too.
It can be.
So.
I like the comment shrimp cocktail, shrimp boat, coconut shrimp. That's funny.
I know everything there is to know about shrimp.
I know all about it.
Shrimp cocktails, shrimp biscuits.
So, do we use RO water, and what is it? So, RO water is reverse osmosis water purification. It's
water that's been run through a whole bunch of layers of filtration materials until there's nothing left. There's no minerals. There's nothing but just pure water. Pure, tasteless, just water with no organic or no silicates, nothing in it, right? Yeah. I don't use it. I have an RO machine. I haven't really set it up yet. What you do is run a whole bunch of water through these filters, and then there's wastewater that comes off of it, and you can use it for other stuff. Like Mike from Mass Aquariums washes his laundry with it. That was pretty brilliant. Some other stuff. A lot of people run this thing into a garbage can, and then they fill up the garbage can like a clean garbage can.
Yeah.
And then they'll use that. Mark's shrimp tanks. He uses RO water in all of his shrimp tanks and stuff. That's how he keeps his really nice shrimp. Those white and red ones, crystal shrimp and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're good for keeping species who are really sensitive to water quality. They're also really good for saltwater aquariums because you have no phosphates, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times too, like even with the shrimp tanks and stuff, they'll add minerals back into it. Mm-hmm. You add some stuff back into it, so it's like has some because there are some things in there that are useful that the shrimp like and stuff like that.
Yeah. So. But you can't really keep it in a planted aquarium. Like you can, but you'll have to add a lot more minerals back into it. I think using tap water is usually better for a planted aquarium, and just using like things to reduce like phosphates and stuff. It depends on your area too.
There's just like I think it would be okay, but there's this kind of level of difficulty versus outcome. Mm-hmm. So if the outcome is like kind of like this much, but the effort is this much, then why do it? So
yeah,
that's my rationale anyway. All right. How long we've been on for over an hour. Can you believe
Nice,
it?
look at us.
We'll do like just a couple more questions, so we'll have to wrap it up. So I got my water changes to do, like all of you guys. I know you're here. You're here killing time, so you don't have to do your water changes. But we'll see.
All right.
Jenny says the water in Arizona is very hard and calcium rich.
May I try it out, Jenny?
Mr. Rover says I use RO water and have a beautiful planted tank. Well, congratulations, man. I'm sure it works great. Now, I haven't tried it. It's all just speculation. So,
yeah. Quick shout out to Keely, my friend from college. She's watching.
Hey, Keely.
Hi, Keely. Is your daughter going to keep fish tanks while she's in college? I can answer this one. I am planning on it if I get something that's not a dorm room. I think that right now it's a little difficult to do what I want with an aquarium in that small of a space for right now. I want to kind of be able to do whatever with it. I don't have it.
You have no room in there.
Yeah, it's like I have room to walk to my bed and to the door, and that's kind of it right now. But in the future, I'll probably try it again. I don't have any in my dorm room right now. Another person asked if we're gonna get lizards anytime soon or geckos.
Oh, we did lizards already. That was
ago.
That was pre-YouTube. I kept bearded dragons.
That was fun. I miss them.
They were pretty neat.
They're my favorite.
But really, all I got out of the relationship was a high. It was a resistance to salmonella poisoning. That's what I got out of it, and a few interesting meals where I got to handle bloodworms or not bloodworms, mealworms and stuff.
Mealworms and crickets.
And crickets and stuff. Watching them chase that. We had some had babies.
Yeah, that was really fun.
It laid a nest, and the eggs came out, and I took the eggs to a friend of mine that has a incubator, and he incubated them up, and then we kept some of the babies. Another early video on my channel is baby bearded dragon waves hello.
Yeah, that was cute.
And that was right at the end. I ended up I didn't feel like keeping them anymore. Fish were so much more clean and less stinky.
I'm gonna try to get a snake one day, so we'll see.
Yeah,
I'll update you guys. I like snakes. All right. Any more questions you want to take, Dad?
Do you recommend the Swiss Tropicals corner filter? Yes, I love that thing. I love the Swiss Tropicals corner filter. Really super easy to install, really super easy to keep. Looks like I'll be moving to Knoxville area by the end of the year. Are there any aquarium clubs in the area I should look into? Nope.
There's a few like Facebook groups and stuff like that that are starting up.
Yeah, Facebook has kind of opened that up and made it less of a formal thing. There aren't any formal clubs like the really cool ones that I go to conventions for like Rachel's stuff up at the aquatic, like the stuff up north that I go to see all the time, like the Big Fish Deal and those kind of shows. There aren't any clubs like that down here, but certainly could be. You should come down and start one.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, Knoxville's great. I enjoy it here.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up right here. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Got like 107 people here.
Nice.
Somebody just tuned in to see the end. Oh man, I'm really sorry,
guys.
But we'll be back soon. Thank you for putting up with a live stream versus a regular video. I hate doing live streams. So I hope you guys had a good time. Thank you so much for coming by. I see lots of familiar faces in there. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your comment. Feel free to leave a comment after the video. I'll answer as many as I can. Till next time, follow your bliss.
Keep a clean tank.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.